Hey, Max.
What's up, Scott?
Is that a bracket you're filling out?
Yeah, man.
I didn't know you were all that much of a basketball fan.
Well, I'm not. This is for March Movie Madness.
Ooh, March Movie Madness. That sounds like tons of fun.
It's a lot of fun.
So what is it? Just a bracket of the best movies of the past few decades and deciding every week amongst your peers which you think is best and seeing which comes out on top?
Yeah, it's that, and it's online.
Oh, where's it online?
You can find it at thecriticalbreakdown.com/blog, and we'll have all of our March Madness updates there on the blog.
Oh, that's great because I already visit that site a lot. And it's on Facebook too, right?
Yeah, you can always find it on Facebook. In fact, why don't you read that little section there on the blog about liking the Facebook page?
Yeah, you like the Facebook page, share a post. You're entering a free giveaway, right?
Yes.
For a Blu-ray movie.
A good one, too.
Wow. Thanks, Owen Wilson. Make sure to check out March Movie Madness, everyone. Running all through March and probably a little bit of April. It's a lot of fun.
A lot of fun.
Hello and welcome to The Critical Breakdown, the podcast where we start at the bottom of Rotten Tomatoes. Work way to 100% fresh. I'm Scott.
And I'm Max, and today we are talking about M. Night Shyamalan's The Village, rated 43% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, this is a polarizing one, as seen by the Rotten Tomatoes score.
Yeah. I think it sits better with age. As someone who never saw it when it came out, but figured out the entire plot before I saw it.
Yeah.
It's a good movie. I would say that. I'll start that off.
There you go. You're just teeing it up. I like it too. So yeah. This will be a fun one.
Well, before we get too deep into it, what you been up to, Scott?
Well, I've been watching a lot of movies lately. I've been on a really good kick of movies.
The old movie kick.
And I know Logan came out this past weekend before we're recording this, so I know you haven't seen it yet.
Mm-hmm.
So it's tough to talk about. I might not even say much other than I enjoyed it. And you will enjoy it. And you, the listener, will enjoy it. But once you see it, we'll talk about it probably in more detail because I don't want to, spoil anything for you.
Maybe next week. We'll see. I got a lot going on in my personal life, which I won't get into too much here, but I've been backed up from last week, and I have some stuff going on this week. So
yeah. No, it's totally understandable.
Yeah. Even with watching, I'm kind of behind on stuff, but I managed to squeeze in a couple show things. So
yeah, let's get the update on I'm blanking on the name for some reason. You've been watching for like 3 months.
You're thinking Party of Five.
Party of Five. Let's get our Party of Five update.
Unfortunately, I haven't even been able to touch that, but
Party of None.
Yeah. I did watch 2 episodes of that show, The Expanse.
Yeah, I've heard really good things about it.
Yeah,
explain it a little bit for our audience here.
It's a lot to explain. It's almost like a Game of Thrones in space kind of thing. I've heard a lot of people say it's like a new Firefly, which I think is wildly inaccurate from the first 2 episodes. It's definitely a different feel. It's not just like space cowboys out there doing their space cowboy thing.
What about compared to Battlestar Galactica? I've heard it compared to BSG.
There definitely seems to be some of that, because one thing BSG did was it had bad guys and good guys, but all of them were in a gray area as well.
Yeah.
And this definitely seems to do that of, moral grayness between plot lines. And the overall plot seems to be you have 3 factions. You have Earth, Mars, and the Rim, asteroid belt people. I'm simplifying it way too much, but basically the people in the Outer Rim asteroids, they kind of mutate over time because there's been a couple generations there. By being in space, they have weaker bodies, and they're kind of stuck between this big war between Earth and Mars. And it's all humans. I mean, humans have just kind of colonized everything. But so that's kind of the overall plot, where it's a Cold War that's kind of on the brink of breaking out into a full-on war. And this one ship that's kind of like a salvage ship or an ice ship that goes and gets ice to make water out of, they get attacked, and the survivors of that attack seem to be one of the major plot lines. Thomas Jane is in this show.
You're a big fan, right?
I'm neutral on Thomas Jane, but I kept thinking this guy looks like Thomas Jane.
And as it turned out.
Yeah, it was, but I don't know why I couldn't figure out that it was him while it was plainly obvious that it was him. But and he plays like a gritty detective. So far the characters I've met, we just got introduced into like Mars by the end of the second or third episode, and so I've met all the factions, but one of them just barely. It's interesting. I definitely recommend it for sci-fi fans.
So what is it? One season out so far?
I am unsure. I've heard about it for quite a while now, so it might be 2. But I just started watching the first season on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, I'm not 100% either, but I think season 2 comes out very soon.
Okay,
or starts very soon. But
I know that they got renewed or whatever, so I don't know if the other one came out. But
and that's on Sci-Fi, right? SYFY.
Yeah. Which I don't know why they lean in so hard on those tornado shark things when they are the people who usually can do a good sci-fi show if they put the money and if they put the time into it.
I think that's where it comes down to. A show like The Expanse is probably expensive to make, or it just looks cheap. So you fill in with tornado bullshit.
It might even be you make enough 8 Sharknadoes, like 6 or 7 or 8 Sharknadoes, and you can afford a good sci-fi show. So
that's probably exactly what it is.
Who knows?
Because I've heard of a couple other good shows that they've been making.
Yeah,
but
I mean, and they carried Battlestar after it moved from the NBC premiere to serialized. It was on Sci-Fi, and that's where it lived. So
there you go. Very cool.
I also managed to squeeze in a couple SVU episodes, Law and Order SVU.
Good comfort show.
Yeah, it's always one of my comfort shows. It's like how you mentioned The Office. You just need it on sometimes.
Yeah.
Just put on SVU and you're good. But to accompany that, I found an interesting podcast called These Are Their Stories, and it just goes into different series of Law and Order and talk. They just dissect an episode, talk about the actual story it's based on, the guest stars in it. The hey, there's that guy moment is what they call it, where you just see an actor from something else, but it's not like a big role. It's a fun podcast. If you like Law and Order, check it out.
There you go.
What about you? You got anything else?
Oh yeah, I've got a couple else. I mentioned last week I was going to try and watch Moonlight, and I did, and it was excellent. It's stream. You can buy it on Blu-ray now, but it's still got a second run in theaters if you want to catch it there, which I would recommend. I watched it on Amazon Prime. I rented it, but it's very visually stunning. The use of color, the blocking, there's a lot of really cool shots. So I recommend seeing the theater if you can, if you feel so inclined. But I think it's a deserving winner of the Best Picture. It's not my personal choice, but it's very, very good. It's a very personal tale. It's a lot about self-identity and growing up and adversity, as you'd expect with the subject matter. But I really enjoyed it, and I'm glad that it won. It's very deserving, very small budget, awesome performances, all around just an awesome film, man.
I think the budget's the most interesting thing about it, having not seen it yet.
Yeah,
but, it has such a tight budget and did so well, critically, and now we'll have more to reap from that, basically, which is cool.
I caught it.
No, go on.
I'm sorry. I caught a look at last weekend's film numbers where it had a big expansion again after the Best Picture bump, and it made another couple million, which is always nice. It started on a $1.8 million production budget.
Yeah.
Brad Pitt was one of the producers, which I thought was pretty cool. He's got a production company, and I think in the last 8 years, his company has been the production company on 3 Best Picture nominees at least. So
makes sense.
It's kind of neat. Yeah.
He has a good eye for that kind of stuff, I think.
Yeah.
What's interesting, just kind of an interesting parallel, is I know with La La Land they had a lot of trouble staying in the budget and used up a lot of the budget on a couple big scenes.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see how those two were kind of the big competitors. And one, you had this micro budget, and the other one used up its budget so much, and they both were really good films. So it's just
and La La Land didn't have a huge budget still. I know I went over, but it was still pretty reasonable. But you can definitely see where some of the set pieces of La La Land, they could go a little overboard, especially if they're doing multiple takes.
Yeah, and an actual highway shot and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Moonlight, I was reading, all the actors shared one trailer. Because they couldn't afford not to. Naomi Harris had to shoot all of her scenes in 2 days because there was some visa issues of her coming over from Britain. So she's and the film is set up in a 3-act structure where each act takes place probably 10 years apart at least. And so her character looks different in every scene that she's in. So that was also really cool, knowing that they filmed it in 2 or 3 days. So no, it was really good. I haven't seen all of the Best Picture nominees from 2016 yet. I haven't seen Hidden Figures. I've seen all the other ones, and I would put Moonlight third for me.
From your personal pick?
For my personal pick, yeah. Manchester by the Sea is my number one. My number two is Lion, which has been sitting really well with me. I'm still thinking about it a lot after we saw it. And I really want to see it again. Then La La Land's great, too.
I had a coworker mention to me that he hadn't seen Lion just because it wasn't in his forte. And I was like, I don't think I would have gone out to see it out of my way had you not been working your way through the Best Pictures and said, hey, let's go see Lion. So I was
because it's not like a genre film or anything, It's just a good movie.
It seems out of place until you watch it.
Yeah.
So.
And then I also watched, I won't talk about it too much, but The Edge of 17. It was a big coming of age story from last year starring Haley Steinfeld, I believe is how you pronounce her name. Steinfeld. Yeah. She's a big pop star now too, apparently. She's got a couple songs on the radio. But it was really good. The first half kind of was iffy for me, but then the second half really brought it home. I'm a sucker for a coming of age story. The music was really good. She was really impressive. And it was a very personal story. So if you happen to catch it, I would recommend watching it. But and if you really like coming of age stories, it's worth checking out.
I hopefully by the next episode of this podcast here, maybe I would have watched Get Out, Logan, Moonlight, or even Kong Skull Island.
Yeah.
Speaking of Kong, did you know that two of the unlikely inspirations for The Village were King Kong and Wuthering Heights?
One of those I can see a little better than the other.
Yeah.
Wuthering Heights, I guess, just because it's...
Wuthering Heights kind of makes sense.
Yeah. The King Kong I sort of get to, but...
Yeah. No, I kind of get it. Well, he said it was Wuthering Heights for period drama, and also there's kind of there's some love triangle stuff and, things like that in Wuthering Heights, and then King Kong for the community living in fear of predatory creatures.
Yeah. It's the creatures in The Village and the creatures in King Kong are different scale, but the fear definitely is the same.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, with those reference points in mind, Max, what's the plot synopsis for The Village?
After her betrothed is injured, a blind girl from a small, isolated village must survive the dangers of the wilderness and retrieve medicine for her fiancé.
Wowza.
Oh, yeah. It's, you could almost say a series of events test the beliefs of a small, isolated countryside village as well.
Yeah, like if you were to go more high scale, maybe.
More high scale.
Yeah. So it's M. Night Shyamalan, like we've talked about. I think my opinions on M. Night Shyamalan, if you've been a longtime listener, are pretty well stated.
If you say M. Night's name around, Scott, he gets a boner.
Yeah, I really like M. Night Shyamalan. But it's funny because there are M. Night Shyamalan films that I really hate. The Happening is atrocious.
The Last Airbender.
Last Airbender is not a good movie at all. But when he hits, I really like his hits. They're home runs for me. And this one, I think more than any other movie that he made was polarizing, where you have people who really love The Village, and then you have more people who really hate The Village.
Dude, I think people were just sick of M. Night at this moment when this movie came out.
Yeah, you got to look at his filmography, where he's coming off The Sixth Sense, Unbreakable, and Signs, which were all incredibly successful and well-regarded movies.
Yeah. And I would say this is where people kind of turned on him.
Yeah, and you got to wonder if the turn is a victim of the movie or if the turn happened and the movie's a victim of that turn.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Because then you look at his next few, and it's Lady in the Water, which is apparently trash. It was The Happening, which is confirmed trash. It's The Last Airbender, which is confirmed trash.
I fell asleep in Lady in the Water. I still don't know the twist. I think it was that we were all in the water.
I don't think that was it.
It's not. It's something to do with the storybook. I literally fell asleep. I don't remember it.
What's amazing is that whole movie takes place in an apartment complex.
Yeah.
And the budget is still $70 million. So it's like, where does that come from? I assumed that The Village with the cast, which we'll get into here very shortly, and I mean, there's not actually that many special effects, but everything they had to set up that it was going to be one of M. Night's higher budget movies. But it actually has a smaller budget than Signs, Unbreakable, and The Sixth Sense.
I can
Signs and Unbreakable.
See that with it being location, in a relatively small location, with a lot of it being like outdoors.
Yeah.
That saves a lot on lighting. Kind of like how he said he does really well with small amounts of people. Sure, there's a big group overall, but it kind of focuses on a couple.
Yeah. So. It's not like citywide or anything. It's like a very isolated
small village.
Group. Yeah. What didn't we pick, Max?
Well, first off the list was Air Bud. We haven't dipped into the family-friendly animal pictures yet. I don't know if we will.
We might have missed the boat now.
Yeah, once you get out of the 40s, I don't know if you'll really see too many more of those. But
most valuable primate might be our.
You turned Australian there for a second.
Primate.
Anger management.
That's Adam Sandler, Jack Nicholson, right?
Yeah, and I think we've had a good swing at Adam Sandler for a while. We might visit him again in a couple.
Maybe on the second pass.
Well, I mean, even like 20-30% from here, maybe we'll hit a decent Adam Sandler movie to watch and talk about. But
yeah, maybe
we'll see. This one, which I know was a hard choice for you, Bad Boys.
Oh yeah, but I'm way more into Bad Boys 2.
That's fair.
So I may do.
Death Race.
Oh gosh, I've seen that movie. That movie is exactly the kind of movie I hate, and I've seen it, and I hated it.
Evolution, which I believe started as a Ghostbusters sequel originally in concept and turned into something else about things just evolving. Maybe there's aliens.
I remember Orlando Jones was in it.
Yeah, I think so. I think that was that year Orlando Jones was in like 3 things.
Yeah. That year. We all remember it fondly.
Yeah. Octopussy.
Oh, is that a James Bond movie?
That's a James Bond movie.
There you go.
We haven't really
we haven't hit a Bond.
And we might have, I think we hit one. I think we hit either like Living Daylights or one of those like random 80 ones.
I just know we haven't done a Bond.
We haven't done a Bond. You're right. And then the other tough choice on this list was Robin Hood, the 2010 Ridley Scott film.
Yeah.
But since we just kind of sunk our teeth into some Ridley Scott.
Yeah, I know. We both kind of flip-flopped on this one. But for me, M. Night put me over the edge here. Yeah. I think since we were doing Kingdom of Heaven, it was kind of easy to not also do Robin Hood. I saw that movie, and I didn't dislike it. But at the time, I was a freshman in college, and I was not the most refined cinephile yet. So I am still interested in watching it again and seeing, because it's got a really good cast. I've always liked Russell Crowe.
Doesn't it have Oscar Isaac as like?
He plays a king of some sort. He's not the sheriff of Nottingham.
He does that really cool like yell at some point. He's like, Frodo!
Yeah.
Frodo!
Very good.
I don't remember what he says, but
I think he does it in the trailer, so we can watch the trailer later to confirm.
Yeah, we can.
But no, that's not a bad line. We're getting to the point where I feel like every line has it's rare that we get to a line that's all duds.
Yeah. We might hit in a couple, but
yeah. But some of those are just weird prime numbers too.
Yeah.
All right. So let's do box office while we're here,
Sure.
Let's knock out all the tail of the tape. This one had a production budget of $60 million. Just right around the middle point for M. Night. It opened at $50.7 million July 30th of 2004, so that's a big opening. It won its weekend. And its total domestic run was $114 million for a worldwide gross of $257 million. So probably made money with marketing and stuff. You got to imagine that production budget. It was probably closer to $100 million when you include marketing and distribution. But yeah, I mean, it made money. This is the point when M. Night movies still made good money.
Yeah. Well, don't they do that again now?
Now they do, yeah. It's kind of like a reverse bell curve because Lady in the Water, After Earth, Last Airbender actually made money, but M. Night Shyamalan, 2004, he was a pretty good ticket, He was going to make money on his movies. What's interesting about this, and it's actually not that interesting unless you're me, is The Village does not have a Blu-ray release, and I don't know why. I'd love to own this in Blu-ray. I think it's very visually stirring, so I'd like to see it in its most perfect form. So,
M. Night, if you're listening, come on, man.
Yeah, I'm sure you're in charge of that. If not, then maybe distributor Buena Vista. you could get on it.
Maybe you could find it on HD DVD.
Yeah, maybe that's what it was. Yeah, they picked the wrong side. But all right, so let's get into the meat of it. The cast is really good, and probably the strong point of the movie. The cast and in turn the performances. We got Joaquin Phoenix,
Bryce Dallas Howard,
Adrien Brody,
William Hurt,
Sigourney Weaver,
Brendan Gleeson,
Jesse Eisenberg,
Judy Greer, and you got anybody else?
M. Night Shyamalan.
M. Night Shyamalan.
It is an incredibly small cameo, but no, I mean that's.
There's also the actor Michael Pitt, who always grosses me out. He
has a really gross face.
Yeah, he just I don't like it.
Yeah, young Jesse Eisenberg was really funny to see in this. This is even years before Social Network, so
yeah, and he's just like a goober in this. I mean,
yeah, he does look like such a goober.
He does it like his character is just there for like 2 scenes really, but it's great to see him just being a complete goober. Honestly, I'm cool with it.
But the main ones here are Bryce Dallas Howard, Joaquin Phoenix, and Adrien Brody.
Yeah.
With the older actors there, William Hurt, Sigourney Weaver. They also play a big role, but it's more background.
And those 5 carry the whole picture.
Mm-hmm. I definitely agree.
So just some info for you here. Bryce Dallas Howard and Judy Greer in the future played siblings again in Jurassic World.
Oh, yeah. I forgot Judy Greer was in that.
Yeah, so that was kind of funny. One thing that made me and Scott laugh was Judy Greer's character is named Kitty, which is also her name from Arrested Development.
Yeah.
And my first thought was, hey, that's Kitty. And then they were like, come here, Kitty. And we're like, haha.
Like, they get it, too.
Yeah. So originally, Kirsten Dunst was cast as Ivy, Bryce Dallas Howard's character.
Oh.
And she dropped out to be in Elizabethtown, which is funny because it's like you dropped out of one movie that got bad reviews for another movie that got bad reviews. But
so not a big miss, I guess.
Yeah, and those two also would go on to be in Spider-Man 3. Bryce Dallas Howard and Kirsten Dunst. So.
Oh, I thought you meant Judy Greer. I was like,
no.
In Spider-Man 3?
So, I mean, that's kind of interesting. There's just some crossover between the actresses here.
Yeah.
Some other actresses considered for the role of Ivy were Jessica Biel and Kate Hudson.
Ooh, you'd like that Biel, wouldn't you?
I like everybody on that list, honestly. So, and then for your boy Noah, played by Adrien Brody.
Yeah.
Originally, Ashton Kutcher was cast as that, and he dropped out for some reason. I forgot what.
I read that, and I think it's really hilarious.
I mean, honestly, the way he was played, I could kind of see it.
Yeah.
But my issues with that character we can get into later.
To compare the two actors, I think, to Brody versus Kutcher is kind of funny, especially now.
That is. And then also they were considering Aaron Eckhart, Thomas Jane, and Hayden Christensen to play that character, which is strange to me. But
I'd love to see the Hayden Christensen version.
Oh yeah, hell yeah, dude, I'm in. The character, I think his name was Lucius or Lucian.
Yeah, Lucius Hunt.
That character was written for Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah, it's a good thing he joined.
Yeah, so
he was really good.
He was great. Yeah,
and Joaquin Phoenix never is really that bad in anything, but he was excellent here.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And I mean,
his role had probably the most nuance.
And I mean, it wasn't even. I mean, he's a major character in the first act, but beyond that,
yeah,
he kind of steps back, and it becomes Ivy's story for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
And I thought Bryce Dallas Howard was very good in this film.
Yeah. There's so Bryce Dallas Howard plays Ivy.
The blocking with her blindness can kind of be an issue.
Yeah. So her character's blind, and it's tough. Yeah, it's probably a tough thing to act.
Yeah.
Because I mean, blind people, they just have to behave a different way because they have to use their other senses to have similar levels of awareness. So I don't know. A lot of times Bryce Dallas Howard looked straight into someone's eyes when they were talking, and I mean, I'm coming at it from a totally uneducated place, but it just seemed off to me.
For me, the reason it worked was because of her fascination with color.
Yeah.
And how people had color, and the fact that she became blind after she could see. So she kind of had
that's right.
Some understanding of, how people communicate when they talk. So to me, it kind of felt like a natural thing. But I mean, sometimes her eyes were kind of, not drifting lazily, but just like sometimes she wasn't looking where everyone else is looking.
Yeah. No,
So,
I actually totally forgot that they mentioned that she could see before, so that would definitely give you a little leg up with some of the stuff.
The fact that she could kind of navigate herself really well is interesting, and I feel like they could have expanded on that a bit more, but I don't think that's on her performance. I think that's more on the writing of the film.
Yeah, no, that definitely is.
But Adrien Brody, I thought he was really he did a pretty good job with the role. My issue with that character once again comes from writing. I had mentioned it to you. I felt he was a bit too much. To quote, Tropic Thunder, "You don't go full." I thought he was a bit too far. I'm trying not to use the word, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's just funny that you also used a quote that features the word.
Yeah, and then I dropped it. Yeah, but no, I mean, I think he played it how M. Night wanted it, but maybe it could have been like a little bit toned down more so that you could kind of bring the audience in more to sympathize with his character.
I think the level that they brought his character's abilities was appropriate to create a moral gray area with some of the happenings in the second half of the movie.
Yeah, I mean, I get that part, but I never once thought like, I would do what that guy did, because I had a hard time. I just think it would be easier. We're putting so many pauses and walkarounds here, but basically, it was hard for me to identify with what his character was doing sometimes, and I think it could have been a stronger narrative had there been a little bit more gray. Still have him have some issues, some social issues, some mental anxieties and stuff like that. Like, still have it in there where, obviously he has some kind of issue, but I felt like the way they pushed it so far in that first act that later on, I was just like, okay. And in the film, he ends up stealing one of the monster costumes and chasing her, and then dies during that sequence. And I'm just like, all right.
Yeah. I had a lot of sympathy to the character. Just because, I felt like, he didn't know any better, and he probably wasn't getting the right care he needed in their isolated village.
I agree on that part for sure. But it's like, for me, I just wanted to feel that, his jealousy more in a way that isn't like he's a simpleton.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we're kind of tiptoeing around the plot, but let's just jump into it. So we start with just the first maybe 30 minutes are this pretty impressive world building of this isolated village that's set in, what was it, 1897, I want to say?
It was... Yeah.
It was something like that, because they show the opening scene is Brendan Gleeson's son was sick and died, and they showed the gravestone. I believe it was 1897.
It was either that or 1879. It was. Yeah. I feel like it was those numbers. I just don't remember which direction.
Yeah, but that time period is where this village exists, and it just shows how life works. It's run by a group of village elders, which are maybe 7 or 8 older members of the village. It's very familial. They have these feasts together. It didn't go into if all their meals were that way or just some of them or just weekly or something like that, but where everyone in the village, which is probably 60 people, comes together and eats. There's children, there's middle-aged folk, there's older people. But so the first part just sets all that up. And it seems pretty normal for the time period, but then there's little things that happen that are a little off.
Like what?
Like a skinned, I believe, rodent carcass is found in the village.
Yeah. Yep.
And I think that happens like a few nights in a row. And they sort of make mention of other little details that are off from what you would expect. Everyone's wearing yellow. They have these yellow cloaks and stuff. And there's one scene where the aforementioned dim-witted Adrien Brody's character, Noah Percy, he gives someone these berries and they're red, and the person starts freaking out because they're the bad color. So it kind of sets up this yellow is good, red is bad, and they have to get rid of them.
They have a couple scenes where some young girls hide like red flowers.
Yeah, they bury them because, So setting all that up. The other thing that was really off to me is there was a conversation with Sigourney Weaver's character and Joaquin Phoenix. Sigourney Weaver plays Alice Hunt, Lucius's mother, and she has this like box, this like crate in their house that's locked, and he can't go into it, and they don't explain what it is, but it was super weird. The instigator, the driver for the plot here is Lucius wants to leave the village to go to town to get medicine and supplies and stuff like that because this sick boy just died, and
he goes and makes like an impassioned kind of what he tries to be, like a passionate speech to the elders, but it's just like a handwritten, awkwardly read, well acted though, scene where he's making an appeal to the elders, like, I should be able to go. He's like, I'm brave. They the monsters in the woods would know that
his intentions are true,
and I have no desire to mess with them, and they would let me pass because things can sense this. And immediately he's like shot down. Yeah.
And so then he mentioned the monsters in the woods here. So the whole setup with this is the village is surrounded by, I forget exactly what they called them. It wasn't monsters. It was like the other.
It's like they call them creatures, and then they call them not like unmentions, but.
Yeah, it was something like that, man.
Those we don't speak of. It was something like that.
Yeah, those who they don't speak of, something like that. But there are these creatures who the elders talk about how there was this truce where they get to keep the village and live in peace as long as they don't enter the woods. And then you see there's a couple scenes where they're like providing offerings to them of like butchered cows or deer. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah. Meat.
Yeah, but they're this looming threat. And early in the movie, there is a scene where one of them enters the village, and the watchman, the sentry who's in the tower, starts ringing the bell. I believe that was Michael Pitt's character.
Yeah.
He starts ringing this bell, and he's just strucken with fear. And as soon as he starts ringing the bell, everyone goes into their house. They all have these sort of like, it was almost like a bomb raid kind of thing, like these bomb shelters below their floor dug into the ground where they would hide when in the instance that the others showed up. They did a good job of building fear here, though. There's a lot of mystery around what they were, but
yeah, they definitely use the color motifs. Like you said, red and not our side, but the village. They were yellow in response to it, and you just see little things throughout the whole film where they're like painting yellow on these kind of border. I don't know what you'd call them. Like
like it wasn't a fence, but
yeah, it's just big post next to the woods, so that kind of like section off their area. So they do stuff like that, and then I mean, all the characters, if they hear the warning bell, they know they have to run, and then very cleverly, the film shows the monsters running. Like little snippets of them, never like a full close-up shot. You'll see claws, you'll see the red that they wear, you'll see the spines that stick out of them.
Yeah,
and
they'll do a camera pan where it like turns to a corner right as one of them is passing like on the other side of the corner.
Yeah,
it was very similar to how the aliens were shown in Signs.
Yeah. Which I mean, less is more. That's when you want to create when you want to create fear. It's always that. It's always less is more.
Yeah, I mean, I'm no horror junkie, but Alien is the first movie that I think really nailed this, where you don't get a good look at the creature until 2/3 of the way through the movie, maybe.
Yeah.
And it does build fear. And I mean, we're talking about the plot, but everything builds up to this twist, and that's where the movie's polarizing for people, I would imagine.
Yeah.
And everything that you see in the movie is put into a totally different context once you know the twist.
Yep.
So the twist of the movie is that this village does not actually live in the late 19th century. It's modern times. The date when Ivy makes it to that guard outpost was June 30th, 2004, the day the movie came out. And the village was set up by the elders who all faced terrible hardships in their normal life, whether it was the death of a loved one, sickness, all these terrible things. And so they wanted to, and they kind of externalized their issues with them on society and placed the blame there. And they decided the best thing they could do to build their lives again would be to remove themselves from society and start their own village, essentially.
Yeah.
And they don't go into the logistics of how, but essentially the village is within this wildlife preserve, where it's totally walled off on all sides. No one's allowed in for probably miles around, because Ivy's journey was at least 2 days walking until she found.
William Hurt's character, Edward Walker, he constantly talks about how his grandfather, earned all this money and became like a millionaire, billionaire, and then his dad was just focused on money only and not on success like his grandfather was. And then his grandfather was killed, his dad was killed or killed himself. I don't remember which one. And then throughout the film, it's really clever actually how they did this. All the elders that talk to someone, they mention one of the older females. She mentions that her sister was basically like, raped and killed by a gang of young men. Somebody else got sick, I believe, like you had mentioned. There's like all these things. And so they very much paint that picture really well, I thought, that these people wanted away from society.
Yeah, and the beauty of the telling of those stories was it essentially is exposition, but you don't know it's exposition when they're telling you the story, because you don't really see how it's relevant until the twist is revealed.
And it fits into the story because...
It definitely fits.
Like with the sister story, that comes from... Ivy's character, she gets betrothed to Lucius, who's Joaquin Phoenix, but we first meet Joaquin Phoenix when Kitty, Judy Greer's character, goes and professes her deep love for him. Yeah. And then this really great jump cut just cuts to her like bawling her eyes out because she was rejected. Yeah. And so we get introduced to this whole subplot of Kitty wanting to get married. She ends up marrying... I forgot the actor's name, but he's one of the main characters in Cabin in the Woods. So later in the film, she marries this young guy, and they have a wedding. And so at the wedding, her and Ivy and one of the elders are talking about sisters, and that's how it comes up. So it's like it's buried deep in there. And I mean, most of the time these things come up, they're just like they're hidden deep within the plot, and it's pretty well done, honestly.
Yeah, it's probably the strongest part of the writing of the movie.
Yeah.
Because not all the dialogue was great, and then your mileage may vary on that twist.
Yeah.
The elders, the way they were united was they were all in the same like support group, emotional support group, and then they made that decision. So this is revealed at the end. Essentially, what happens? You mentioned how Lucius was betrothed to Ivy, and Noah took great offense to this, and in his very simple mind. He was filled with jealous rage, and he stabs Lucius, like right in the chest.
And the stabbing scene was really cool because he just walks up, and there's complete silence. The classic M. Night Shyamalan, like close-up, uncomfortable close-up of both of them. And it looks like Noah's smiling, but then you realize he's like crying. And then you realize Joaquin Phoenix is like shocked, and then he stares down and he sees the knife.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a cool scene. And
I got
what's up?
Sorry, I have a fun trivia fact about that scene.
Go ahead.
The movie is rated R, and having seen the movie now, I can think of no reason why it would be rated R. When they first cut the movie, there was like a very grotesque sound when the stab happened, and then they cut it because they liked it better without the sound. Yeah. But the R rating stuck. But I just thought that was kind of funny. Without the sound, it was very powerful because you go through that gamut like you were just talking about, seeing first Noah's sadness, grief, shock, whatever he's going through. And then you see Lucius's pain, shock, and then you see the knife.
Yeah.
And it was really cool. But so Lucius is very gravely wounded. Mm-hmm. And the elders kind of take him in and they're trying to heal him, but he needs medicine. And he had been wanting to go get medicine already, but now with the twist in mind, you know why they didn't have him do that. Oh, the other part of the twist, the other creatures are just the elders wearing these costumes and pretending essentially to be these monsters as the force that keeps everyone in the village.
Yeah.
As the fear factor.
So they create this like fear sense to keep everyone in. And they've only been doing it since they were younger themselves. So this is like the first generation of this. Yeah. And it just, I get it. I like it as a concept.
Yeah, I think there's ways they could have explored it better.
Yeah. I feel having it be the direct generation after makes it harder to like really drive in how shocking the twist is. Yeah. Because They leave hints the whole time, so as soon as you catch on to it, it's like really obvious.
It's painfully obvious once you know.
That works with something like The Sixth Sense, where the story's more subtle overall because it's just set in normal time and only one character's out of place, which is, the dead guy. Yeah. That works brilliant in that one. And then, with stuff like Signs, the twist isn't so much like a shocking twist. It's just kind of a fun, cool twist.
Yeah.
But this one should be a shock, Like having your whole world just shatter should be like a massive shock. And I get that like she doesn't fully see it because she's blind.
Yeah.
Like she doesn't know what a car is. She doesn't have a frame of reference for any of that stuff. So it's kind of like more subtle. And I think that's what they were going for. But I think the story itself deserved a bigger shock ending.
Yeah, the ending was almost like an anti-climax where it's building up to the M. Night Shyamalan moment. And that moment it can definitely be disappointing.
Yeah. What's interesting is there's this young adult book called Running Out of Time, and the author, I don't know if she actually ever sued.
She didn't. I was reading about this.
Okay, yeah. I don't understand why she couldn't sue because it's a very similar plot line. Very similar. I guess there's enough differences in the story where it's just like two common thoughts that came together. But then that one, it's a young girl who has to go get medicine for sick people from her village, like her 18th, 17th, 19th century village, whatever. She manages to escape and discovers that it's all like a giant genetic experiment. I guess that's probably where it gets different. And they were trying to breed like more perfect people to have, I guess, organs or something, or just better donors for blood and stuff like that. And but with that one, when she gets out, she busts up the whole village she came from. Like it becomes her goal to put an end to it. So there's catharsis is what it sounded like to me. I haven't read that book, but I think that's kind of what this film is lacking, is that she goes back, she saves, she saves her fiance, and then all the elders, which is it's a cool concept for sure, where the elders were like, should we continue this? And then they all agree yes.
Yeah.
And it's cool that like they're brought into the fold. Like he basically makes a plea to the other elders saying Ivy's going to be our next generation. But at the same time, I think as a viewer, you wanted something with more punch to it.
Yeah, there's no reward to that ending.
Yeah.
Like I get that ending, but there's no. It's another anticlimax. There's nothing there.
Yeah.
And the other thing was the big climactic action moment was, so Ivy goes. William Hurt's character, her father, sends Ivy to go get the medicine, along with a couple other people who end up dropping out for some reason.
Because they're scared.
Yeah. So she's going, and he tells her at that moment that the other monster things are not actually other monsters. It's just the elders. And so she knows that. But then the big action scene here is one of the other monsters is attacking her, and she has to evade him. And it's kind of a clever scene the way it's done. They had shown her walking through, and she had almost fallen into this like big pit that had been formed by this uprooted tree. And she continued on, and then she kind of is, they're not dueling with this monster, but she's like trying to find it, and it's grunting at her and attacking her kind of. And then she runs back and she finds the tree again, the same like branches from the stump, and she like baits it into falling in. And this monster was Noah, again, Adrien Brody's character. For some reason, after the stabbing, they put him in, quote, the quiet room. Which is just like a punishment place. But for some reason, and this is easily the weakest part for me of the writing, because it's just the convenience of it is too strong.
Yeah.
For some reason, buried underneath the floorboards of this quiet room is one of the monster costumes.
Yeah. And
he put it on and jumped out a window. And it is way too... it jumps the shark for me there.
It's on the nose, basically.
It's on the nose. And they could have found better ways to do it. Like have him not even be in the quiet room.
Simplest way is either have him escape somehow that makes more sense, like out the window, or have an elder release him because they disagreed with what Edward decided for Ivy. Yeah,
and see, that's where I would go with the movie. If I were writing, I would have infighting between the elders, conflict there where some of them want not to send Ivy, to let Lucius die and to keep the ruse going. Others maybe think it's time to let on the next generation, fill them in on what they're doing so that they can take it on when the elders pass. and stuff like that. They could have had a conflict there that would have been compelling, and then it would have made sense for one of the other monsters out there. Could have been either Noah, who could have easily been manipulated by an elder, or it could have been one of the elders out there.
Yeah.
When the mask comes off after the person falls into that pit, it could have been Brendan Gleeson's character.
Yeah, it could have been literally anybody.
Yeah, so that would have been so much more powerful for me.
Yeah.
Noah already had the use of his simpleness and his inability to comprehend these things. He was in love with Ivy, found out she was betrothed, stabs Lucius. That should be his moment there. That should be done.
You know what would have been more haunting for Noah as a character?
What's that?
If they took him out and threw him over the wall, not threw him, but got him over and out and just like abandoned him and he wasn't allowed back in, like exiled completely.
Shit.
For like a simple character to have to deal with that and try to explain to people, like they would just think he's terrible and lock him up.
So here, I'm rewriting the whole movie right now. We're going to do that. They're going to dump him out in the middle of the terrible land where he's terrified. And then one of the elders is going to be out there to stop Ivy, and he is going to bump into them. And he's going to be terrified. He's going to be like, look, they are real. And something happens with him, too.
Yeah.
They're all there. Maybe he dies, too, on accident. He falls in the pit.
There just definitely should have been more.
Do something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the movie succeeds on its world building.
Oh, for sure.
It hits that. It's very good in the first 45 minutes. It's excellent.
And cinematography and music are spectacular, honestly.
Yeah, this is, I believe, James Newton Howard did the score, and it's one of his best. He's a constant compatriot with M. Night Shyamalan.
He was nominated for this, wasn't he? Academy Awards? I don't think he won.
Yep, he sure was.
Yeah.
But he does almost every M. Night Shyamalan score. Split is the first movie that James Newton Howard wasn't working on with M. Night Shyamalan. And M. Night Shyamalan has such a unique eye for camera work. And it's so apparent as soon as you start watching this movie that it's an M. Night Shyamalan movie because it's distinctive and it's beautiful and it's engaging. That's what I like so much about M. Night is the camera work is amazing. His cameo in this movie is he plays like a park ranger. So what happens is Ivy ends up, after she defeats Noah Monster, she hits a wall and she just climbs over it. And one of these park rangers picks her up and she's like, I'm from the village. Like, here's this golden watch. We'll pay for our medicines. And the guy's like, wait, are you serious? Like, he barely believes it because it's 2004. And so that guy goes back to like the ranger station and M. Night Shyamalan's like his boss. And they never even show him fully in the camera. All they do is they turn the camera to show the younger park ranger getting the medicine that Ivy needs. And all you see is M. Night Shyamalan's face reflecting in the glass of water on his desk. And it's such an M. Night shot to do.
Yeah.
And it's so engaging. I really love the camera work that he does.
Yeah. What cinematographer does he work with in this film?
Give me a second.
Roger Deakins.
This is Roger Deakins. And Roger Deakins is a legend. He's one of the best cinematographers that still works. I mean, he works with the Coen brothers all the time. Denis Villeneuve. He works with everyone.
Yeah.
And I think so he's never won an Oscar, but he's been nominated like 12 times. This movie easily could have been nominated, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it's so impressive. But this is the first time he worked with M. Night Shyamalan.
Well, he did good.
But there is still M. Night Shyamalan's vision is always a part of these two. It's not just the cinematographer.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm just saying the combination of the two is what makes it. And
yeah, for sure.
Like I said, I mean, it's a visually stunning film, so.
Yeah. But yeah, so that kind of covers the whole plot, I guess. We were a little scatterbrained there, but do the two twists, I guess, the two twists being the elders are the monsters and then the village is actually in modern time. Do those work for you on any level?
They work conceptually.
Yeah.
I think the elders are the monsters is definitely like a good, strong concept.
Yeah.
For me, just like I said, where it falls apart is that there's really no consequence from that. It just happens to be a point of fact in the background for both points. They got the medicine and, she saved the day and that's it. Which, I mean, it's simple enough. It's not like it doesn't ruin the story for me. It just was anticlimactic, like we said. There should have been, maybe she doesn't want, like, she understands it, she gets it, and she doesn't want to blow up the village, but maybe, you know,
she wants to leave now.
She wants to leave, or people force her to blow it up, and, you know, she accidentally brings ruin on her people by accident. You know, like, there's so many ways you could take this, like, plot that's set up so great, and he just doesn't take it there, and it just, like we said, leaves an anticlimactic film.
Yeah, and it squanders the delightful world building and fear built in the first half of the movie, because it really is impressive, and it deserves a payoff. Like you talk about, it deserves a better payoff.
Also, they advertised it heavily as a horror film, and the first act and parts of the film definitely like dip into horror genres.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not a horror film altogether. It just has some horror moments to it.
Yeah. And if you do those twists differently, or just whatever climax you end up with, you could make it a horror film.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you just need more conflict. Like, it's hard to have a horror film truly without any conflict. Yeah. It's not that this movie lacks conflict, but there's not a lot of conflict.
Yeah, I mean, the conflict that's there definitely drives the plot how it is, but there could have been more specific horror conflict.
And more of the conflict is for the viewer in bringing up some of the moral questions about whether it's okay to leave that village isolated from the rest of the world.
Yeah.
What Ivy should do when she finds out, stuff like that. But it doesn't deliver well enough for me.
Yeah, and the fact that, like, those are really valid questions. Like, Brendan Gleeson's, you know, family dies because, I mean, his son specifically dies because there's not enough medicine or whatever.
Yeah.
That's a huge question. That's like a
that
huge,
should be. Yeah.
Are these, yeah, exactly. Are these parents fit as parents because they're causing their kids to die? And that's just never touched on. And that's a shame because, you know, it's an interesting idea.
For sure. So this movie obviously is very polarizing. For the people who the twist didn't work for, it's going to be like a 0 for them. But I have this theory that M. Night movies, not because I haven't seen Lady in the Water, and admittedly The Happening is trash, but The Village in particular is hurt by M. Night Shyamalan's reputation of being the twist director, where people go into this film saying, all right, what's the twist going to be? And expecting it and expecting this big delivery, because the movies he'd done to this point were The Sixth Sense, Unbreakable, and Signs. Unbreakable, when it came out, M. Night Shyamalan wasn't the twist director, because all he had done is one movie that had a twist, but he hadn't become the twist director yet. Then when Signs came out, maybe people were catching on. And when this came out, it was like, okay, he's a twist director. And every movie he makes from that point forward is contingent on its twist.
Mm-hmm.
What I like about Split is there's sort of a twist, but the plot itself is not relying on a twist in any way.
Yeah.
So he's kind of bucking that is kind of what I'm getting at.
I mean, you could say maybe he's learning. You know, maybe he figured out, oh, I shouldn't just do that one thing. But no, I definitely agree. And I definitely think this is about where he used up his like public good grace on being like a great twist director.
Because, this is the tipping point.
Yeah. And not necessarily that this is him. I discussed in an earlier episode where we said some directors kind of almost parodied themselves. And M. Night's done that before for at least 2 or 3 of his films. And, you know, Wes Anderson had a couple, in my opinion, stinkers that were they were visually compelling, but they were just kind of, oh, this is Wes Anderson doing Wes Anderson instead of Wes Anderson being Wes Anderson.
Like they fall into their own image.
Yeah, and I think this
so far.
I think this definitely is M. Night being M. Night, not doing M. Night. I think after this he did M. Night for a while. But this is definitely kind of the start of his like rut.
Yeah. He had a lot of trouble kicking the tires after this.
Yeah. Which is a shame because it's such a good concept, and like I said, it's a beautiful film.
Yeah, there's lots about the movie that is successful. And for me, I don't love the twist at all, but I can look past the ending and see the first 3/4 of the film as a wonderful film. For me, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It sucks that the ending's so bad because it kind of leaves a bad taste in your mouth when you're done watching it. But the overall package is good. I think it's probably the most finely crafted movie we've watched so far on the countdown.
One thing that's interesting is I pointed this out to you that there was like no people of color in the village.
Yeah.
Which it kind of I definitely don't think that's like I actually don't know if that's intentional or not, but it could kind of speak to like the 70s, 80s yuppie mentality of coming into this village to make like a perfect society, and they like, oops, we forgot to invite black people. We forgot to invite other races. Not that it's a discredit on the film. I think it actually plays to like the question that M. Night should have gotten to, which is this whole situation right? That honestly for me should be the question of the film. Like, is this right? And
yeah, it should make that the critical.
They poke at it. They poke at it with all these things, but they don't like ask the question.
Yeah,
so.
And then it leaves you to ask the question yourself, which is fine. It's just not as powerful as it could be.
It should be punched up more. So
yeah. But, you got any more thoughts on The Village?
Nah, man.
I got one more. I thought it was funny. I was reading that Sigourney Weaver, after she read the script, had nightmares for 2 weeks, which is hilarious.
That. Yeah.
Because it's either that she was scared because it's a scary movie or because the twist was so bad.
Yeah, maybe like she'd already signed her contract and was like, crap.
Yeah. And her character in the end doesn't honestly do that much. I'm thinking about it.
But it's Sigourney, so she does it great for the moment she's in there.
Yeah, she really does. William Hurt was really impressive too. Not that he's ever really bad, but he really owned up that like 19th century persona. Like he really nailed that.
Yeah.
That faux 19th century. But Max, where can the good people find us?
You can find us putting on spooky costumes and chasing around our friends and family, or you could just find us at thecriticalbreakdown.com. You can find me trying to help Bryce Dallas Howard get to where she's trying to go with her walking stick, or at Max Rare Film on Twitter.
You can find me being stabbed by the village idiot, or at breakdown_Scott.
I was really hoping you were going to say in the quiet room, but you took the higher road.
Sorry. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. We already said all that. We got an email, thecriticalbreakdownpodcast@gmail.com. Did you like The Village? Did it work for you? Let us know. Did you mention the website already, thecriticalbreakdown.com?
That's what I started with.
Well, we're finishing with that too. criticalbreakdown.com.
Go vote on March Movie Madness. Yeah,
it's going pretty good so far. It's a lot of fun.
You won't believe number 3. It's going to blow your mind.
We're on all the podcatchers and stuff. Not Spotify because they're very, very selective.
Yeah.
But, check us out. Leave us a rating and a review if you can.
Yeah.
Because it helps us out a lot. And more importantly than helping us, it just makes the world a little brighter.
Shout out.
I was reading an article the other day. The sun actually shines a little brighter when you leave a review for your favorite podcast.
Shout out to El Rey, who gave us our latest review. Appreciate it.
Touched me in the heart. Touched me right in the heart.
Next week on The Critical Breakdown,
we're gonna steal the Declaration of Independence. Or watch National Treasure.
That's right. Rated 44% on RottenTomatoes.com.